So yeah, there must be a link because these hands came because of this, and then we make the link between the sacred and the profane, like the people. I grew up late 50s, beginning of 60s, so I grew up in a nice decade, I think. We were feeling quite free, the world was opening the doors, and as a child, no, what shall I say? I just wanted not to be like the others. I grew up in Brussels and remained there for more than 20 years. And then I lived also in the south of Spain and Argentina for a year in Buenos Aires when I was 24. And then I stopped moving and I started to work as a teacher. Yeah, I mean, we had more jobs. These were crazy years, the 70s and then the 80s, until we got AIDS. In fact, that was the first thing we got as a big change in our life, in the innocent side of growing up. I had a uniform. I was in a Catholic school, girls only. And I think I was doing my job. I studied languages because I thought it would be a passport to travel and to open up with other people. And also I was studying ballet at the Conservatorium of Brussels, so I did it professionally. So I would say that the discipline about the work came from there. Like, if you want to achieve it, you have to work, not only to be gifted, you have to make it happen. No, I was an awful student to draw what they call still life. No, I was in ballet and dancing, and it was not, I was far away from visual arts. We were not going to museum. I think these came later, when I was over 20. I never thought I would be an artist, in fact. It came late. Yeah, I studied Germanic languages, like Dutch and English, a bit of German as well. And then by living in Spain and Argentina, of course, Spanish came on board as well. But when I came back from Argentina, I didn't go to school as a teacher. I worked in trading companies and in advertising agencies. I worked for the Wall Street Journal Europe in the marketing department. And after some years, like 12 years, I think, of business, I was not in the creative part, I was in the business part. Then I quit my job and I went back to school as a teacher. It was in '96. And after that, by teaching Dutch to these young kids, I chose culture and art as basic themes for the year. And then we were building a kind of, notebook about the exhibition we were going to see together. And I was speaking Dutch all the time to these French-speaking kids, and they were illustrating everything. So it came from there, like how free they were to just take a pencil and draw something without having any preconceived ideas and how it has to look beautiful or like the reality. I started draw when I was late 30s. You got more maturity, and the observation of the children and their center of interest was also something that was possible being near 40 than being a teacher when you are 20. I started to go into collage because I needed to say things that I didn't want the others to enter into that bubble. My private life was becoming a bit difficult at that time, so I went into studying Arabic calligraphy because I like the ink, I like the strokes, and also because I like to write. These notebooks that here are small, I have started in 1972, and I have 68 books right now for the freedom, because you can transform. If you study like Latin calligraphy, everything is just so shaped and so technical. And I'm not about the technique. I don't care. I just want to leave a mark on the paper that is saying something. So with the Arabic calligraphy, they have a way to extend the letters and the arabesque, and as they didn't represent God through images and painting and everything, the way they transformed their writing, their letters, was just so beautiful. It also taught me how to work backwards, how to change all the rules of what is writing. It was interesting, and I think when you just do one letter, there is a place on the paper, there is a strength that you're gonna give between the belly and the brain and through the hand, but it's like you walk on a rope. You have one time only to make it happen. And I think that's the way I draw as well. It's linked to writing. After that, I became very quiet till 2002. I became a mother also, so I mean I was dedicated to my son, and I wasn't writing for 10 years. No records of anything except the life of my little one, but not mine. And then after that, I went through a divorce, and then it became a kind of necessity. And I went from collage, I went into abstraction, and then into bodies. And after the body, the face. The exhibitions that I had in Europe were about me, but when I came to Sri Lanka in 2016, I forgot about myself, and then I concentrated about the people. So if we take the titles, the first big one was called I Lost My Head as Well as My Sex. It was like about my identity, getting divorced, and who was I? I mean, I had the feeling when I was in the 30s that I was somebody, and I was quite happy with what I was doing. But then after that, with this failure, it gave me like a negative hit. And how do you reconstruct yourself? Drawing like on an everyday, I mean, in these notebooks, like every day you draw something, you write something, because the writing has never been separated from the drawing. Make me back to life again. Alors, that was that one. Then the next one was All is Forgiven. And after that, I think I made one about my mom who had Alzheimer and 10 years in a mental institute until she passed away. That was in 2012, 10 years ago. And I worked, it was called The Language of Rapture, because in my way of staying next to her when I was visiting her through all these years, we couldn't talk anymore at the end. So how do you reconnect with the one who is your mother, who doesn't even recognize you? But we were dancing, I was singing, we were listening to music, and I was taking care of her body, let's say. But she was so happy, and it gave me a kind of learning how to be generous. What is it? You spend 3 hours with your mom, and then you go with the tray outside, and you come back, and she looks at you as if she doesn't know who you are, and it was like 3 minutes away. So when you just give just to give, not expecting anything, back, and all the hours she was waiting for somebody to visit, makes me very close to her, and to all these people that has disabled abilities, whatever the ones, in fact. And when I reached Sri Lanka, I was hit by the people. the way they were looking at you, the way they were saying things without talking, because I don't speak Tamil or Sinhala. They were like open books. And I think also the 25 years of being a teacher, you spend your life just looking at the students. And then if you look deeply, you learn so many things about the body language and the emotional power that we have to communicate, that we don't use because we're scared, in fact. But this gave me a link to the Sri Lankans, and also being a foreigner, an outsider, a white one, gave me access also, I think, to a kind of easy relationship about trust. I was not going to say anything about them, but we had nice time drawing together. The activity we did together was drawing. Obviously, yeah, I look like a weird bird, and then I act as if I'm not scared about not anything, but to meet people, I need heavy people in order to be scared. Like male forensic at the mental hospital, no. But female forensic, they were not that quiet, but they were okay for me. So when you enter in this kind of dialogue and individual attention to them, they got glued to you. It's like you offer them a space that they urgently need, and where they can feel, even if it's for 2 hours in a week, it's a nice place to stay together. And them being happy, I was also happy. So I volunteered 2 years at the National Institute of Mental Health in Colombo with these female forensic and the adolescent unit, and I was also going to another place about a children's center for disabled kids, deaf and blind, and also, mentally disabled ones. This was another way also of communicating. We couldn't speak, and not hear ourselves. But then I took care about other things. I went also to the Academy of Design. I had different levels, and also I went to the Rohingyas camps in Bangladesh, in Cox's Bazar, in 2018, to draw 5 days in these camps. And after that, I worked more deeply about not only the drama, but the trauma, what is left behind, that you don't open the box anymore, but it's there. It was interesting. So I went back to Sri Lanka for 6 months, and I exhibited with the Rohingyas pieces, artworks, at the Bangladeshi museum, which was an incredible experience. To work with them and to work on my own, to just digest all this, and to give also to them a voice through my way of translating the things. We were both attractive together. Yeah, it took me, in the 20 years of that process, it took me, I say it, for the last 5 years. When you ask me, and you, what are you doing? I used to say I'm a language teacher, and occasionally an artist, but I didn't feel that way. Now I quit my job to come to Sri Lanka, which gave, a large part of time and space for art, and I worked a lot. I had also, the possibility to exhibit, because I think my language is also different. I think most of the artists are speaking about themselves, which I did also. I still give my part in the process, but it's like I give also a visibility to other people, and like I call them the famous individuals, but also the forgotten heroes, who are the people that are leftovers. We don't want to take care of them, or we feel also uncomfortable with that. I don't. I think they have a big heart and they have a soul. Art for me, it's a way of being, of thinking, of writing and translating, and it's a way of communicating and producing a sensation in others' mind. So it's a great, it's like you transmit something, like a teacher, but it's another way of doing it. It's a great one, and the way I'm expressing the thing, it could be in Europe or, I mean, in my country, in Greece or in Sri Lanka, and I think here in Nepal we'll see in a couple of days. But I think the people are reacting the same way. First of all, it's like, oh, what is that? And then after that, it might not be what I'm talking about, but it's always linked to some pain inside. And I think I have a way to shape pain that is connecting the people together and with me as well. I came to Nepal, that's my third time. I came because, I mean, Sangeeta invited me, and then came the idea when I was here to find a residence in 2019, in July. And I came back here in October 19 at Space A. And I had given a project about the 100 postcards about the holy and sacred city of Kathmandu, about the many walks and the place of the religious beliefs. And you know, Kathmandu, as for us, European, if there was a route to follow in the 70s, 80s, it was India. And the piece of cake after India was Kathmandu. So it was a kind of a magic place. We all wanted to go. So it took me like 60 years to land in Kathmandu. And but I enjoy even more this second residency than the first one. It takes time to enter into the city because it's busy. It's also, I mean, dusty, and it's full of people. The idea of the postcards came from my youth with parents. When we were traveling in the 60s, we had no camera, so my mom was buying these postcards on the way, and when we were going back home, she was just making albums of postcards. And I mean, I got the virus about buying postcards, so I sent postcards for years to my friends. But also when I started to be connected with art and museums and art books, I was also buying art postcards that I collected. I've got like shoe boxes of cards. And also when I was writing to my friends, I was customizing the postcards, like you just buy this, and then on the other side you just draw something. And I started to send postcards, and they were overreacting in a nice way about, oh, this is so good in these internet years that were coming to receive something, a message written. And sometimes you don't write the same on a card or in a letter than when you write, I mean, a message through these networks. So then I said to Neda and Jupiter, I'm going to build up a collection. And it has a name, a scientific name that is called deltiology. It comes from the Greek, and it's the collection of tablets on which you write something. And it's the third collections in the world. The first one is the money, the coins. The second one is about the stamps. And the third one is about postcards. So I thought, being, I mean, like an old school girl, that maybe I could come up with a collection of postcards. I had zero material here, so the idea was just to do with what I had, like embroidery, like stitching, like writing, of course, but then, I mean, with fabric. And then I used also the clay that I was making to make postcards. It was the Dacian festival as well. Look, the hands were already there. I didn't exhibit them because, I mean, they were belonging here. I repatriated them to Colombo, and I said, when I can have a way to exhibit, I'll exhibit them there, not elsewhere. It's like they belong to Kathmandu. Now the idea may be that would be nice, but then I have to think about it. It's just to send to the people that were linked to these cards, to send to each a card, really, by mail, by post. So we'll see. So I'm going to display the 100 of them on the wall of the Patan Museum, together with the hands in clay. And the clay came because Gopal Kalapremi, when I visited his studio, gave me a big block of clay. And you know, when you do postcards like this and you go for 100, it became like I mean, it's eating your brain after 25, 30. So I started to shape clay, and this is the first hand I did in 2019. And I was like, oh, these are like the hands of the people restoring the temples in Patan area. And I made 6, and then I said, okay, I have no time left, I'll come back. But then with COVID, I came back 3 years later. So no, these were unseen. This will be the first time we see these postcards. And then I went back to Gopal, and then I had like 6 kg of clay. And I restarted the work because I think when there is a gap of 3 years and you go back to an old work, you are not the same. So I started, and I have 24 pieces. They remained here. These are the old ones. And these are the one I made right now. And then we decided to take some oxides and to make it look, I want them to make them look like old sculpture. I didn't at the beginning wanted to fire them, but I think it's much better. Now with clay, you never know how they're gonna look like after firing. But I'm pretty happy. They're raw and and human. They might be not. I mean, I'm not concerned by the idea of making something beautiful. I think there's a difference between grace and beauty. Beauty delivers what you are expecting to receive, and I think grace doesn't. It goes beyond somewhere else, and because it goes deeper, there is a magic in that, and it reaches the people as well. They forget about it, that they are like. Some have 4 fingers, 3 fingers, but what does it mean? We don't care. Hands. It was the wall that I saw at Patan Museum about the display of 102 dismembered deities' hands that were remains from. I can't say them in Nepali. The name of the temples. But they were in wood. They were carved in wood, and they were all with offering something. They were beautiful, but as they were damaged, they were also like, oh, what happened? Like, life is a gift, but it's not always easy. We have always surprises. So my idea was to go from these sacred hands to the people. To the human being. Yeah, they collected the hands only. The statues were destroyed. I think part of it, but also from other strats when you find, I mean, remains of. But I think the earthquake removed everything. I don't know exactly when they put this, but there was an explanation. There still is an explanation. They changed it. It's more modern now. But the first illustration, and I have a copy, you have like a big box in glass, and all the hands are like all together, and it was before placing them on the wall. But I'm gonna develop that picture and put it in the exhibition as well, because I want the people to make the link between the sacred and the profane. I made little ones like this in Sri Lanka, I think in 2017, but then I was like, oh, this is not my medium. And then when I came here with these ones, it's, you know, when you have an idea or when you start something, sometimes you don't know why you are starting it. And it may be by pure curiosity and to go out of your comfort zone, to be always on the canvas or on the paper. But then my last exhibition in Sri Lanka was about abuse of all kind. And I decided to go for 30 pieces of ceramic, bones. And I chose kneecaps. So I made 30 white kneecaps. I shaped them, but it was exhibited in a dark room, and I wanted, the title of that room was saying, bones don't lie. Bones, they don't lie. In your bones we can see many things, many of your pains before, all the fractures and all the accidents and everything. It's an identity piece. But also the kneecap is the one that maintains you to stay vertically. And I believe in life, if we are damaged for whatever the reason, if we stay horizontally, we are game over. We have to stay vertically and walk. So the kneecap was just the piece that I chose in the human body to describe where everything is contained and to reconnect with you. Because if I say, when you enter into that room, it was like, it gives you a strange feeling. And but it was another way to grab your attention about the sensation, even if it's making you uncomfortable. It's not my religion, but I'm an agnostic person, so I was born Catholic. Can't get out of these repertoire that will remain for years, but I don't believe in God. But I mean, on this continent, and for the years I'm spending my time here, I mean, the religion is a key in the people's life. Sometimes there are nice ideas, and when they come with this kind of paradise, then I just don't agree. But I think we all deserve it for making so many efforts. But it's like it's there and it's present in everyday life, and even more in Nepal or in Kathmandu, because I don't know Nepal, but Kathmandu, said the religion, the temples, the holy stone, or whatsoever, you meet the gods at every corner of the street. And you can see that the people, it's like a kind of being inhabited themselves and being accompanied in a life that is not that easy. We can appreciate religion even if we are not religious ourselves. And he's agnostic. You learn because you observe the things. It's another way of thinking. It's difficult to get into somebody else's mind, but at least you can observe it, and you have to admit it, that for others it's a priority. But what about the concept of having all these religions to go through life? This I'm not sure. I hate the idea. I think it's something created to make us walk ahead, but to move forward and to stay quiet, because otherwise you're going to be punished, which is just like, I don't agree with that idea. We are all punished by ourselves when we make mistakes, so we don't need to be punished twice. Well, I'm lucky. I just met my ex-boyfriend from the 80s back 10 years ago. So we were two to support, me working, that's for sure. It's very difficult because, you have to face the material, and it's all about what you can remain an artist in your cellar, okay? I don't know that feeling. I think art is about visibility. And if it's about selling, it's also nice to go and live on the walls of somebody else. But what you sell is never covering, not even the cost of what you spent. So it's it's a lonely job. We are a community, and I work with people. But the only time I work with somebody, this is the first time I'm sharing a studio with somebody else. And I'm not in my studio. It's like you go naked when you do a residency. That's very personal, because I prefer to be in South Asia than to be an artist in Europe. Because I think there's more respect for who an artist is and his work. In South Asia, there is not that kind of, how can I describe this? Just an artist is somebody who creates and who has something to say. Now, like ceramic in Japan is a big thing. In Europe, you do ceramics. Okay, you do ceramics, but you're not an artist. You are a craft person. So we have that kind of, the artist is the one, and I don't think there are some that find ways that we can do. We have our own, each of us, unpredictable in art what is going to happen. And for me, it's a surprise every day. I can feel me growing intellectually and physically, with the material and everything. I'm accompanied all the time. I can live with myself now, alone. I'm happy to be with my husband, with my son, and with the others. But inside, when I go to bed, Jesus, it's just like, it has never been so good. And I wrote something, I think it was yesterday night, I said, I feel strongly that my work is connected to something else that is in me that I don't understand. No, that was not that one. Wait. Speaking about the next 30 years to come, it gets more interesting. So that's the feeling I have. It's like I'm getting more and more years, but I'm becoming more intelligent. I have more abilities. It's like all what I did in life comes into like a reservoir, and all of a sudden I find a way to share it with others. Took me a long time. Just to start at 42, and it took me more than 10 years to believe I could do something. I thought the things were happening by chance. Like you got an exhibition and then you say, okay, I don't think I'm going to do another one. I'm drawing, but I don't draw things that later are going to become the real one. No, it happened once. If it happens in the book, it's for the book. If it happens on the canvas, maybe I'll share with others. Yeah, it's an incredible material. It's changing all the time. Like you touch it and it's another feeling and another expression, and but it's great to empty the mind as well. You don't think anymore. You think more when you draw or when you paint. This is just like you have a block and then you try to make something out of this block. They were made by hand. I didn't use any tool. It's too difficult. You just like it's muddy, and the idea you have of a hand is not. It's not what's coming out. And then the thing is that what do? You get mad until you find a way to make it look like what you have as an idea. No, I just walk randomly with the accident, and then it's like, oh my God, look at that one, or like, or when I work with this and then you shape it to the top, it's like it's a wall, it's a wave, it's a mountain. It's so many things, and then it becomes abstract somewhere, And then there's a story you can tell, and it's my story, but you will see it and you will have another story. And I think that is also a nice thing about art. You enter a room and you have 4 people watching the same, and you look at it and you say, well, I don't know, and you continue your way, and then you're stuck in another room where you have a feeling. So it's very personal. Otherwise, I think we become technicians. And that's why I never went, except for that Arabic calligraphy, to any class of art, even like evening classes. I had a major artist who saw my first exhibition in Brussels, and she was telling me, are you going to an academy? Or just a no. And she said, listen, it's all there. The only thing you have to do is work. I did not understand what she was telling me. But years later, it remained on my mind. And I think now I can analyze also the thing. At that time, it was just like spontaneously what was coming out. But it's all linked. Yeah, I had a shock with that Austrian artist who was a co-worker and a friend of Klimt, but his name is Egon Schiele, or this one with the bodies was just hitting me. At that time I was in collage. I bought the catalog in Paris. But I remember saying, you give me one of his drawings and I don't hang that in my place. But I had an emotional shock about his black line and the way he was drawing. And then, yes, it became I studied him a lot. Van Gogh as well. Van Gogh, because I was a Dutch teacher, and with the children when they were 12, we were going to Amsterdam every year. So I was just studying Van Gogh each time. I mean, in June, I was going to Amsterdam to the Van Gogh Museum. But it's also about that black line and the light, and how the drawings of Van Gogh are also so beautiful. And then there's a contemporary one, one of them, Marlène Dumas, who is about portraits and also the human being. And I love Louise Bourgeois. Lately, it took me a long time to enter into her work. It was like I didn't understand a clue. But now also I'm reading the art books that I was collecting for the pictures. Now I'm reading them. And also this makes me, it's like food for thought. So yeah, it's basically, I like Munch, Edvard Munch. All these like weird ones. I think so. It's a reward, and it's not about money. It could be not. It's about going to another place. I always sold from the beginning a few pieces. Like among 20, 25 artworks, the average is like if you sell 5, it's great. It went growing lately. Not the last exhibition, because it was more about an installation. And it was tough as well. It was not rude, but it was heavy. But before, when I exhibited in Europe, I was concerned about selling to reimburse all the costs of framing and everything, and it was an anxiety. But you don't work to sell. And sometimes you do a whole collection and it's not the cup of tea of the others. So it's like you put yourself in a position that is not easy either. Because we don't produce to sell, unless you are somebody who makes like. But selling is just like a kind of, even if it's like pocket money, it's like, oh my God, I sold an artwork. Yeah, it's going to live somewhere else. It went accidental? No, all the galleries in Europe sell. No, I prefer to sell, I'm not crazy. But but when I don't sell, or it's a collective thing, and it's not about selling, and so you get much more freedom because you don't have any anxiety about selling your work. But if they don't go away, then you ask yourself why. Why is it? Did you say it in a way that is too deep or too raw, which is my case? And I'm changing all the time. I mean, I change media. Yeah, I always go outside the studio. It's the one that after all these years you look at and you say, this one I'm not going to sell. I'm going to keep it. I have a couple of them, not many, because you store also all what you don't sell after the exhibition. You go back home with all these babies. And sometimes you just go into that storage room and you look at the things, and there are some, like, you look at them like, oh my God, why did I exhibit that? I think no, I think it's you. I think we know, but I can speak for myself. But when a piece is a one, you can feel it. You can feel it. Sometimes the other don't have the way to look at it because it's too far. But then years later, when it comes back, yeah, it's still profound. Yeah. And I tend not to exhibit everything to exhibit. It's just to choose, and I love to choose. I hate when people, you have galleries sometimes that come to the studio and say, okay, this one no, this one yes, yeah, like this one also. It's like, no, because it's just like you are on a flea market. Well, my last exhibition, not a masterpiece, but a great one. Yeah. Yeah, the last one about abuse in Sri Lanka, yeah. And it took me a long time, 3 years to make it happen. And now we are 6 months later. I'm still with that in there. Why? This I don't know. I mean, I hardly know the ones that are going to come because I have some relations in Kathmandu, but not that much. But maybe because I'm also coming, I mean, like from Sri Lanka, but being Belgian, there is a kind of curiosity how she's gonna translate something about your country, your culture. So I think it's nice when somebody comes from the outside and bring another perspective. When I go back to Europe, I'm just going to all the galleries and exhibitions in museums because it's like they have another way to look at things. So, and it's to share about that as well. They will say things, they will comment things as well. And let's see, they have the same sensations or how does it resonate inside them? Like the things of the postcards is very light. It's a kind of a bubbly thing, and it's like the Tamil market, and I call that bling bling. It's not pejorative, but it's a kind of all is shiny, and the curtains, and the temple, and the bells, and the smell, and so it's a happy-go-lucky journey. And this one, I couldn't just be this. If it's not linked to people and people that are in difficulties or in difficult positions, it's like I mean, they deserve to be represented somewhere, even if we don't like them. They will be there with me. And I'm ready to come back to work with one Nepali artist, to work on the same subject maybe, and experiment the way we could translate it, the two of us. It must be somebody that is not doing, let's say, mandala. I mean, for me, that will be very difficult. But I can do it also. It will look not beautifully executed. No, but about a subject, about communities here, or habits or festivals or things like this, something that is deeply in the roots of the Nepali. I just discovered how linked they are to these mountains. For me, the mountains are just like part of the landscape. It's not like they are with you all the time. And that's why, I mean, maybe I'll go as a retreat to Umla, or there is another one that's called Marfa Foundation in Mustang that has also a pedagogic project, and go for a kind of retreat, but not to walk, just to stay with the community and do something, yeah. And with a Nepali artist, even better, because then I got the double of things shared. So I think it can be nice for the other one as well as for me. I talked always a lot. So, no, I think what it's interesting is all about recording data, because this is a mental construction, and this can't happen without this.